Welcome, welcome, welcome to A Man's Point and View. I am your host, Mike Bite, and today I have a very interesting, controversial, needed to know, gotta have, all rolled up in one topic for discussion. You know, historically, the conversation we're having today is pretty one-sided. What I want to do is incorporate a man's point of view when it comes to abortion. So the topic for the day is abortion from father's eyes. You know, when we sit back and think about it, historically, whenever the conversation of abortion comes up, it's always Roe versus Wade, or the mother's rights, or the medical side of it. But who has stopped and asked a father's perspective? Also, we're going to cover 4 key focused topics. We're not going to be all over the place. We're going to tunnel our conversation to 4 key topics. First, we're going to do one of the caviar of all topics that we're going to start out with is if a couple plan to have a baby and later change their mind, should a man have a voice? That's the first thing we're going to cover. Second, if a couple decide to have a baby and later the mother changes her mind and abort the child without the father's consent or even discuss it with the father, can the father sue the mother? And we're going to add to that, is that a criminal act? And third, we're going to talk about, should married men have a voice whether his wife have an abortion? So now we're talking about dating, then we're talking about married couples, and then we're also going to bring up if they renege or go against the agreement. And then lastly, we're going to close the show out is, if a couple decide to have an abortion, but the mother changes her mind, should the father be put on child support? So those are going to be our 4 tunnel vision conversation, because I think if we just make it broad, then I think the conversation can go all over the place, because the laws are very, I'm going to use the word less specific and more about a mother's rights. Let's take that from the equation and talk about not so much the mother's rights, because in most cases, if a lady go out and have unprotected sex with a guy and get pregnant, more cases than not, the guy really don't care whether she have an abortion or not. In most cases, he probably don't want the child anyway. But let's talk about couples, whether they married couples or a committed relationship couple, and they choose to have a child. Now, let's keep our focus on that type of relationship. And then from there, let's start out with the first topic of discussion. And it is, if a couple, boyfriend, girlfriend, dating, engaged, whatever, plan to have a baby and later break up, should a man have a voice whether she abort the child or keep the child? I want to bring that to the table for discussion. If you're watching this live on DFTV Network, or if you're watching it live on Facebook, please weigh in the conversation. The call-in number is 214-454-0929. Well, we got a caller here. Hold on. A man's
man have a voice whether she abort the child or
hello, caller.
I want to bring that to the table for discussion.
All right, mute your volume, please.
TV Network, or if you're watching it live on Facebook, please read the conversation.
Mute your volume, caller.
The number is 214-454-0929.
Hey, caller, mute your volume. There you go. Now I can hear you. May I ask who's calling?
Ruben Nicholas out of Las Vegas.
Hey, Ruben, how are you doing today?
I'm I'm doing good and fine. And yourself?
I'm doing well, doing well. You calling about the topic at hand today?
Yeah. I was calling about the topic at hand. I was told to call
Okay.
at 6:05 Central Standard Time Zone.
Okay. I tell you what, tell me your opinion about if a couple plan to have a baby and later on break up. Should a man have a voice whether she can or whether she should or should not have an abortion?
Pardon, say that again?
If a couple is planning to have a baby and later break up, should a man have a voice if she do or do not get an abortion?
Yes, I believe a man should have a voice, because at the end of the day, in spite of the relationship not working out and them not being together, that's still his seed at the end of the day. So of course, I feel like he should have a voice in whether, the woman should abort the child or not.
Now with that, you think they should sit down and have a discussion? But if she's, say, well, it's my body and I have the right to do that, what type of discussion should they have? Should it be to keep the child or parenting? Tell me what you think about that personally.
I think they should sit down and come to some type of agreement. Me personally, because, I grew up with, Christian beliefs. I don't believe in abortion. So, me personally, I would sit down and come to a compromise. But just to go out and abort the child without my say so, I think that's just wrong, because at the end of the day, both of us, we decided to lay down with each other and have a child. It took two to tango, so at the end of the day, I believe the guy should also have a voice and opinion in the matter.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. All righty. Well, I think also if you look at it, a lot of people would say, well, it's the woman's body. What would you say to that? It's the woman's body, but at the end of the day, it's the man's seed. Without the seed, there's no child. And that's another thing that people one thing that people forget. And I feel like as a woman, if you don't want to be in a child's life, then I believe that you should. If the father is stable enough financially and has his life together, I strongly believe that the woman should, give the child to the father and let the father be a single parent. Very interesting. I like that.
Yeah, but just to abort the child and not give that child a chance at life, like, I feel like that's wrong. And then not to give the father the opportunity to have any say so. I don't believe that at all.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, and keep listening in. If you hear anything else, feel free to call back in.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
He brought up some very interesting point, and producer, please pop the name up again. We're talking about abortion from father's eyes. And the first question we're talking about is, if a couple plans to have a baby but later break up, should the man have a voice to either abort the child or keep the child? And as this caller just brought out, I think it's a combination of, like he said, they both made this decision. And with that, although they broke up, they created a life. I mean, people talk about abortion as if it's a property or a car or some. These people created a life, and you're trying to say, I'm granting you permission to take a life, to terminate a seed, because we're no longer a couple. Let's let that marinate for a minute. we're basically having a discussion like, since we're no longer dating or a couple or engaged, now, what we created, a life, let's kill it. Let's let that sink in. Because, you know, even though they have timelines of what the law says when abortion can safely and medically be done appropriately, let's look at it from a true perspective. Once those cells or whatever they call men together and divide and start growing, it is a life. Now, I know medically speaking, they say, oh, the fetus is not such and such. Well, how does it grow if it's not alive? You know, how does it develop to become a life if it wasn't something of liveliness at the beginning? And with that, you're saying because two people had a disagreement, let's kill it. I'm just putting it out there in black and white. And if you have an opinion about it, please feel free to call in. The number is 214-454-0929. Because you think about it, when it comes down to abortion, very few times do you ever see a discussion talking about a mother and a father, or a man and a woman had a discussion and reached an agreement to have an abortion or not to have an abortion. Typically is the woman make the decision and told the man later, if at all. So I'm not barking upon the Roe versus Wade side of discussion. I'm merely saying a couple, married or single, made a decision. If something changed that decision, should both parties, specifically the man, at least have a voice? We're about to take a quick commercial. We come back, we're going to address topic number 2. The topic number 2 is going to be if a couple, a married couple, decides to have a baby, later on the mother changes her mind and have an abortion without telling the father. Can he, should he sue her, and should that be a criminal act? You're watching A Man's Point of View right here on DFTV Network and Facebook Live. I'm your host, Mike, and I really want you to kind of tune into this because this is something that I think we have avoided for a long time. We're going to take a 1-minute commercial break. When we come back, we're going to jump in topic number 2, abortion from Father's Eyes. We'll be right back.
Legacy Orthopedics.
Legacy Orthopedics.
Legacy Orthopedics.
Legacy Orthopedics.
Legacy Orthopedics.
Legacy Orthopedics.
Legacy Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Here at Legacy Orthopedics, all of our care is centered around you. We're here for your joint pain and athletic injuries.
Experience, training, and patient relationships are at the foundation of Legacy Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. We pride ourselves on the patient experience. We treat every single patient as if they were our family.
Welcome back to A Man Point in View. I'm your host, Mike. Today's topic of discussion is abortion from Father's Eyes. And early on we was talking about if a couple plan to have a baby, and the caller made some very good pointers, it's his seed. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit more and take it even more in depth. Topic number 2 is if a couple, you and your wife, sit down and decide you two are going to have a baby. Happy couple, Now all of a sudden something happened. You two get into a disagreement. whatever. Either break up or you two have something that no longer make you a happy couple. She upset, go have an abortion, does not tell you. Should she be sued or should that be a criminal act? Call in, let me know your opinion about it. 214-454-0929. Let's look at that. I had an article that I brought up, and I'm going to see, can I find it right here? Yeah, right here. And I'm going to read it because I want to not lose the pointing to it. And it's called Fathers in Court. It was from, where is this thing? BBC website, and it was talking about fathers' rights. This particular article talked about in 2002, a Chinese law put a man's right in, hold on, got another caller. A man's point of view, this is Mike.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back again. This is me, Rubens, from Las Vegas.
Yes, sir.
I also have an opinion on what I think it should be both. I think she should be sued for emotional distress to the father, and I believe she also should be penalized too.
Okay. You know, some people may say, well, you can't sue her because it's her own body. So with that, you said emotional distress. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, because, you know, in my situation, you know, when I got the mother of my child pregnant, at one point we wasn't seeing eye to eye, and the relationship wasn't working out, and it was on many occasions she threatened to abort the child, and I felt like she did that. She was saying that, I felt like she was saying that out of spite, just to hurt me. And just the thought of her aborting my daughter, my first child, my seed, oh man, that just tore me up inside. So, you know, I feel like, you know, when you have a father that really cares and happy about having that child, and the mother goes out and abort the child and take that life just to get back at the father, that can cause a lot of emotional distress on the guy.
Right. And I mean, I could definitely agree with you on that, because I think sometimes they forget, they take out the human perspective that a man has when it comes to creating a child with the woman, you know?
Yeah, because, you know, in this society that we live in, it's just like, you know, it's not fair, but, you know, it's the society that we live in today is like basically on the court and the justice system is basically on a woman's side most of the time.
Right.
I feel like that's the reason why.
Right, because I guess they're saying, you know, and we got it later on, because it's an old saying, a mama's baby's daddy's maybe. So I guess what they're trying to say, whether the man leave or stay, that female is going to be responsible for caring for that child. Do you feel that is a valid ground to give her more of a right to make that decision? Or what's your feeling about that?
No. I feel like that don't give her a valid ground, because, you know, what you just said, you can't apply that to all men, because you used to have a lot of loving, caring fathers out there that's not with the mother of their child, but are still great fathers, still in their child life. So, no, I don't think that gives a justification to the mother to go and take that child's life.
Right. So now I guess the next follow-up to that is, if the mother says she do not want the child because they're not going to be a couple, should she have the child and the state grant the father the primary custodian of the child?
Yes, I believe so. Or if the father, I believe so. Or if or if the father isn't stable financially, I believe that he also should have a say-so in the mother giving a child up for an abortion. Not abortion, but adoption. Like, I feel like if the father is not stable enough, why not, come to an agreement to give the child up for adoption? You have many loving, caring couples out there that can conceive, that would gladly, with open arms, take that child and provide that child with a happy home and a good life.
I 100% agree, because, like you said, there's several fathers, it'll be their first child. And with that, even though I understand the mother go through all the physical labor, the mother go through all the physical pain, but I still think you're going to kill a life because two adults had a disagreement. I don't think that's fair to the child or the father.
It's not fair at all. It's not fair to the child, and it's not because, see, what people fail to realize, when it comes to a child, it's not about me. It's not about my feelings, how I feel as a man, or it's not about the woman. It's about that child at the end of the day. And, I feel like, people need to just grow up and understand that, hey, even though we can't see eye to eye, it's not about us. It's about this child.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I know there was a case in China that I was about to read, and the actual Chinese law allowed the man to take the woman to court and sue her for aborting the child without his consent.
And I totally agree with that, because if you look at certain laws, like when you have a situation to where a former couple had a child together and they both had joint custody through the courts, the mother or the father cannot take that child across state line without the consent of the court and the other parent. So I agree with that law 100%.
Absolutely, because if you think about it, the child life inside the stomach is no more or less valuable than the child's life outside of the stomach. And if they don't allow you to take it out of a county or a state, how does it grant permission to kill it because one has a disagreement?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I feel like, if a mother go out and abort the child without the consent and permission of the father, I feel like she should be penalized, because like I said, once again, if you have two people that's parenting a child and and they're not together, and one of the parents decide, hey, I'm gonna take the child across state line or out the country without the permission of the courts, or the other parent of that child, then that person will be penalized, and I believe that would be considered kidnapping, a form of kidnapping. Yep. So in that case, if one of the parents would be penalized, why not make a law to where if a woman go out there and abort the child without the consent of the father, why not make that a law that that she should be penalized? And I believe, like I said, once again, she should be sued for emotional distress, because that will bring a lot of emotional distress upon any father that has feelings and he's loving and caring and he's anticipating that child being born. That can bring a lot of emotional distress upon the guy.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%, because when you sit back and think about it, we are natural protectors via our child in the belly or in the world, and to have no say in how to protect our children, quite often I think it's one of the key ingredients that set a man off. set him overboard to where he loses his control. Now, that's not an excuse for any type of violence, but it also kind of gives you a perspective that some men who have children and they're looking forward to having these children, and all of a sudden, with no say, no voice at all, someone can take your child's life. I think that's enough to make the average man go a little crazy.
Yeah, that would drive me crazy. Like, you know, in my situation when the mother of my child used to threaten me that she was going to abort my daughter, which she didn't, thank God, that would drive me crazy. That was my first child, and even though things wasn't working out between me and her, I was so happy. I was like, wow, I'm going to be a father. And, you know, just for that to be taken away, you know, just for that to be taken away and the child life to be taken away just because we had a disagreement or we decided that we're not going to be together, why should my child have to pay for that?
Right.
You know, why should the child have to pay for that? To me, I feel like that's not fair at all.
Absolutely, I agree.
You know?
I agree with you.
Yeah, but I feel like any logical individual with reading skills would understand that. But, you know, nowadays, you have a lot of people out there that, you know, they lack logic or reasoning. But I feel like any logical person would understand where I'm coming from.
Right, and you know, I have to say I echo your beliefs because, you know, what's done medically and what's done financially is different than what's a father true feeling about his child or children, because at the end of the day, like you said, you're talking about killing my seed, something that I helped create, and you're trying to tell me you can do that and I don't have a single voice. I must agree, that would probably make me very stressed out and crazy or whatever. So, yeah, I have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and to me, it's a form of hypocrisy. You telling me, okay, if you decide to have the child, okay, of course you're gonna expect me to be there for the child, take care of the child, and be a good father, but yet I have no say so if you decide to go out and take that child's life.
Right, absolutely.
Nah, to me that's hypocrisy.
Right. I tell you what,
I feel like it's hypocrisy. It's backwards.
Right. I'll tell you what, hold on one second. That's our third topic we're going to go into. Okay. I'm going to take a 1-minute commercial break. When I come back, you and I are going to keep talking about it, okay?
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. We're about to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, you and I are going to keep talking. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, you're watching A Man's Point of View, and as we do, we have Nick from Las Vegas on the phone, and I'm really enjoying his point of view about it. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to jump in what he just said. If the mother do choose to keep the child, now you are expecting that man to be financially responsible for that child. Let's kind of talk about that. You're watching A Man's Point and View right here on DFTV Network and Facebook Live. We'll be right back.
I may never hit the game-winning shot, but I'll always be there when it counts.
Welcome to The Man Point and View. I'm your host, Mike. Today we're having a very interesting conversation, and I'm actually enjoying my dialogue with a caller out of Las Vegas named Nick. And he's bringing some very interesting points about abortion from father's perspective. Now, the great thing about it is my personal disclaimer. This is my opinion. That's Nick's opinion. If you have an opinion, feel free to call in. This is not the law. We're not trying to do, anything legal other than sharing how we think as fathers and how we view abortion from our perspective. So hopefully you guys don't get mixed up what our point of views are, what the laws are, and what your beliefs are. And if you have beliefs strong enough, again, call in 214-454-0929. And as we was talking, Nick alluded to a very interesting point. I'm going to bring Nick back on the phone in a minute. He made a very interesting point. If the mother choose to keep the child, now their expectation, and as well as most states' expectation, is the father must maintain financial support of that child. And Nick, I got you back on the air now. So we're going to talk about that.
I'm here.
You think about that. If a father and a mother has chose to abortion the child, but the mother changes her mind and keep the child, now all 50 states, to my knowledge, says the father got to be helped financially take care of that child when they agreed to abortion it. What's your thought about that?
Say that once again. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no, no worries.
Say that.
If a couple had decided to abortion the child, but the mother decided to keep the child, should the father be financially responsible to support the child?
Yeah. Hey, that's his child. That's his child. He chose to lay down with the woman and have a child with her. And so yeah, I feel like no matter what the condition of both parties' relationship are, that hey, if that's your child, you obligated to take care of that child. That's your child.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, if the couples had agreed to keep the child or to terminate the child, at the end of the day, the child is still both parties, or the mother and the father's child.
Yeah, that's still your child. So yeah, I feel like the father should be still, no matter what, should be obligated to support that child, because like I said, no matter what, that's still his child at the end of the day.
So I guess some people will say, well, if they chose to abortion the child, if the mother and the father said they was going to have an abortion, but the mother changed her mind. I have one person waiting online said it should be a discussion and agreed upon if the father should be financially responsible. How do you feel about that?
No, but people have a change of heart. Even though the mother agreed to abort the child, maybe she probably had a change of heart. A lot of times we contradict ourselves. We say certain things and do differently. So maybe the mother had a change of heart. Or maybe the mother had a spiritual experience to where, she realized that taking this child's life wasn't the right thing to do, and she had a change of heart. So, we all the time, we have a change. We as human beings contradict ourselves. So I feel like in that case, the father, like I said, the father is still obligated to take care of the child, because at the end of the day, that's still his seed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, when they talk about abortion, I don't think no one is thinking about, they're only seeing the problem. I'm going to call it the problem. But I think they're overlooking a life. This is a life. And once we lay down and conceive a child, we're talking about we are going to choose to bring a life into this world. And I don't see any reason, if two people agreed to do that, that one should be able to outsay the other.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that child should be given a chance because you never know, that child could be the next biggest thing, like the next president of the United States, or could be that person that can make a change in this world. You never know, But if you don't give the child a chance, it's like, man,
Right.
it's just like, yeah. So I think no matter what, like I said, no matter what's the situation, I believe that child should be given a chance. And hey, like I said before, if y'all don't want to be a part of a child's life, I think the child should be given up for abortion. There's many loving families out there that will provide a good home and a household and good life for that child.
Absolutely. I'm going to put you on hold for 1 second, Nick.
Okay.
And for you guys, two ladies that just came on board, we're talking about abortion from father's eyes. And the question we're talking about, should a father be included in the conversation when it comes to having an abortion or killing a child? And if the couples have agreed to have a child together and the mother chooses to not have an abortion, should she talk about that with the father? So we had three topics that were going on here, and I see a few more people has come online. Feel free to call in, weigh in on the discussion. 214-454-0929. What we're talking about now, if a couple had decided to have an abortion, and the mother had, whatever reason, she had an epiphany to keep the child, should that father be financially responsible for it? Now, what I do
on here, and I see a few more people has come online.
So with that, Nick, I see you unmuted your phone, Nick. But with that, I wanted to kind of go off into that. If you think about it, per last time I checked, if a mother have a child in the United States, whether it's in a relationship, a one-night stand, or in a marriage, whoever she named to be the father, he is responsible financially for that child. My question is, if the mother and the father was in a relationship, they was dating, not married, and they had a moment, the lady got pregnant, and they both sit down and said, okay, we're not at a place to keep this child, let's agree to have an abortion. But then later, the mother changes her mind. The question is, should that man be responsible financially? Nick had a very good point. He said, yes, the man still should be financially responsible. I want to hear from some of the ladies out there. 214-454-0929. We got to take another 1 minute commercial break. When we come back, we're going to jump off in that as well. Ladies, if you have a personal experience, please feel free to share it. So we're going to take a 1 minute commercial break, and we're going to come back and we're going to keep talking about that subject also. You're watching A Man's Point in View. We're going to take a minute break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Vivint Smart Home, where you can control almost any aspect of your home, all from a single touch. And if touch isn't convenient enough, you can just use your voice.
Alexa, ask Vivint to turn the AC to 72 degrees.
Okay, changing your temperature to 72 degrees Fahrenheit.
Vivint's doorbell camera is like caller ID for your front door. It will detect any visitor approaching. Wherever you are, you can talk with them right through your doorbell and can even remotely unlock your door to let them in. All this convenience is just one reason Vivint is recognized as the #1 smart home company in the world and has been named among the most innovative and most promising. Vivint's award-winning monitoring services work around the clock to protect your family against any threat. Your Vivint smart home is truly intelligent and will automatically save you time and money. Ask your Smart Home Pro about special offers that you may qualify for. Security, energy, video, control. Vivint Smart Home.
Welcome back to A Man's Point in View. I am your host, Mike. Today we're talking about abortion from father's eyes. And Mr. Rubin, Nick Rubin there in Las Vegas, we've been having some great dialogues on a couple of great subjects. Nick, I'm 100% there with you on a lot of the topics. But now I want to turn the table a little bit. I want to hear from a couple of you ladies out there. What I want to ask you is, from abortion from a perspective, just generalizing, if you're in a relationship and you and your mate decide to have a baby, later on you get upset at him or whatever, you change your mind and choose to abortion the child or abort the child, should you be penalized? Second question to that is, if you two decide to have a child and agree to abortion, but you change your mind and keep the child, should he be financially responsible? Those are the two topics we've been talking about very heavily today. Reuben has shared some very interesting perspective from a man's point in view. Any of you ladies, if you want to weigh in on the conversation, feel free to call in 214-454-0929. Because my personal opinion is what was falling between the cracks and all this conversation is, the discussion we're really having is, do we kill another human? Let's just put it right there. Because if you two made a decision to have a child, and I don't care if it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 21 weeks, or 9 months, that particular cells that's growing is a life. It's growing inside of you. And now you guys are engaging in a conversation to either kill it or to keep it. And with that, I guess my first thought is, why do we have such permission? Who gave us that permission to take a life legally? That's first and foremost. I'm looking at a couple of responses here. Because you think about it, regardless, like Nick said, regardless of what we feel as a couple, we created a life. But now let's just put it out there from a non-legal perspective. Let's say, we decide to have a child, then all of a sudden we have a major disagreement. And you're like, nope, I will not bring a child into this world because I can't stand that man. Does that give you the right to kill that child? Is it an option for you to have the child and say, I don't like you, I don't want you in my life, so here's your child, and give the child to the father? Is that an option or a viable option that should be even considered by the law? Or should it remain solely and exclusively the right and the decision of the mother of who takes the life and or who kills the life? Now, the flip side to that is, if that is the case, then should the father have any say if he chooses to walk away from it? And that's a question I just want to pose, because at the end of the day, we're talking about a life. Two people came together to create a life. Help me understand why only one has the decision-making power to determine life or death of that life. Help me understand that from a woman's and man's point of view. Nick made a couple of points here, struggling financially. Okay. Destiny said, agree, but what if the guy have a background? Okay. Pass and good job. Okay, that's another good question. If the father's not financially capable or able to take care of that child, and the couples base their decision on an abortion, that they're not financially at a place to take care of that child. And then the mother, as Nick said, gets some type of spiritual epiphany and say, no, I can't kill my child. Should he be financially responsible? But then let's flip that around. What if the father is financially responsible and he say, no, 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 don't kill my child, give it to me? Should she be ordered to carry the child through full term and give it to the father, or give it up for abortion? Should the topic of taking a life be removed from the equation in the event of couples who made an agreement to create a child? Now, granted, there are so many other circumstances surrounding that. And the very interesting thing about what it was, and I see, can I find that again? There was a topic I said, and I think it was something like 1,863,000 abortion from 2011 to 2017 that happened. Now, granted, in 2018, it dropped by 3%. Now, in that number or casing or counting, I think if there was extensive circumstances surrounding the pregnancy, unfortunate, like you may say, rape or things of that nature, then I solely agreed, let the woman make that decision. My question today is about couples who decided to have a child, who made a conscious adult decision to conceive, lay down, and to conceive with the intention of making a baby. That's all we're talking about today. And I think with that, I think we should look at that as not necessarily a one-size-fit-all. Now, me personally, my personal belief, which I rarely try to share it, I try to stay away from it. If I'm in a relationship and I openly say, hey, I want a son or I want a daughter, and we've both said, okay, great, we're going to do that, and we put the time and the effort into making the efforts to conceive and create a child, 2-3 months down the road, if you get upset at me, that has nothing to do with us or you making a decision to take our child's life. In my mind, that is murder. That's my personal opinion. And if there's any way that I can pursue that, I feel for my child, I should. Because that child cannot speak for him or herself. They did not ask to be here or anything. So my thing of it is, who's speaking for the child non-emotionally? Who's speaking for that child that everybody's debating on killing non-emotionally in a couple situation? None of the other stuff. In a couple situation, I think that's something should be separate in the discussion. Because as we talked about earlier, if the mother say, I'm going to have an abortion, then changes her mind, her expectation and the state's expectation is that father must be financially be responsible. But if she says, I am going to have an abortion and kill the child, he has no say. Help me understand the logic in that. All right, we got one more commercial break. When we come back, we're going to kind of wrap things up. You're watching A Man's Point in View, and we're talking about abortion from father's eyes. I'll be right back.
How's it going, everyone? This is Spanish Harlem. Today we're going to be showing you some video on our famous wings that we do. They're well seasoned. They're our special recipe. We do them our way. They come with the mojo that we kind of set up ourselves. It's well flavored garlic, culantro, cilantro, all types of seasonings. You can find us or email us. You can start out with an email. It's SpanishHarlemCuisine@gmail.com, and our Facebook page is SpanishHarlem@Facebook.com. We're currently working on our Instagram page, but the phone number, if you need anything, need us to do any special events, any birthday parties, any special events, is 917-763-9889, and you can reach us there.
Welcome back to A Man's Point in View. I'm your host, Mike, and wow, this hour has slipped past us. But our last topic of discussion, and I'm targeting this to married couples. Married couples. You got married. Yay, you throw your rice and beans if you're from New Orleans. That's a joke. But now all of a sudden, something happened, and you and your wife choose to separate. Later on, you discover, oh my God, I am pregnant. Should you sit down and have a discussion with your husband about abortion or not? This is a married couple that conceived a child in wedlock, not dating, not one night stand, a married couple. Should the wife, even though they may be separated, get permission, have a discussion, or should the father be included in the discussion if she decides she wants to terminate the pregnancy, or, if I like the way to put it, kill the child? Now, with that, some people is not going to like the way I put that, but feel free to call in and give me another way to put it, because you look at it this way. The moment the child started to divide and grow, it's a life. They talk about molecules of lives, plants have lives, yada, yada. What's the most valuable life on earth if it's not a human's life? Even though medical scientists say, oh, it's a fetus, yeah, yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, if it was not a life, it would not grow and develop. So, with that being laid as the foundation, my question, should your wife, guys, ladies, should you be, forced, encouraged, obligated, before you go to the clinic to have an abortion, should you sit down and talk to your husband? Now, again, my personal point of view regarding that is, if you feel you cannot raise this child financially, then consider the option of, okay, husband, we're going to get a divorce. You got to make sure medically I'm okay, and at the birth, I'll give you the child and I'll move on with my life. I would say okay to that. Or if you're going to, you break up and you say, okay, I want to abortion a child, and the father says no, but you deceptively go do it anyway. My personal opinion is there should be some type of penalty, because if you get penalized for adultery or fornication in a marriage, if you have property and the state says you have to divide that equally, if you have property and you guys can't agree upon it, the state make a decision to sell it and divide that equally. One cannot overpower the other. I'm thinking, my personal thought, if that's the case with all the property, why can't something similar like that be when it comes to a child? I'm just asking the questions, and hopefully I don't get beat down on that, because at the end of the day, you think about it, and I've said it over the last couple of weeks, COVID-19 hit February, March, and things really got ugly the latter part of March, April. Now come January, February, March, there's going to be an influx of new babies, which is going to bring a whole new chapter of drama. But during that February, March, then you got March, April, May, June. At that point, how many abortions, how many children was killed because COVID forced couples in the house together, participate in a lot of intimacy or sexual activity to only discover later on they really don't like each other. They were just bored and had sex, and now conceived a child, and now one person make a decision to kill it. And I said it from day one, there's going to be a lot of drama. I know that's going to happen. But the question is about abortion. As I close out this show, I don't want anyone to take this other than this is Mike's point of view. It's how I feel. But I would like to add to it, if you are a male and a female and you know you have made a decision or accepted decision to create a child, I encourage both of you to come together via mediation, via counseling, and have that discussion. Because as a mother, do you want to live with the conscience of you killed a child? And fathers, do you want to live with the stress that you encourage her to kill a child? Or lastly, do you guys want to have that hostility, animosity against each other because one killed a child without having a discussion with the other? At the end of the day, in each of those decisions is one common denominator. You guys are taking the place of making a decision to take a life. A life. And depending on what your spirituality is, you got to have a real good conversation. And you got to check your heart. Because at the end of the day, that child didn't do anything to neither one of you. And how you feel about each other, in my opinion, should not determine if that child's live or die. It should not be part of the equation. If you can't stand that man and man can't stand you, then agree to disagree, but in my opinion, do not penalize that child. I'm just saying. Well, I appreciate everybody that weighed in on the conversation. Nick in Las Vegas, thank you, sir, for weighing in. You had some excellent points. Ladies, I hope I didn't block you out. But later on, if you have more discussion, I would love for us to sit down and have a panel discussion, because I know, and I believe it in my heart, coming soon, February, March, we're going to be revisiting this conversation from a domestic violence perspective. COVID-19 of 2020 has created not only a pandemic, but it's created a new era of drama that I think is going to be light more magnified than what we previously experienced. And prepare yourself. So that's my show for the day. My time is way past out. I appreciate you tuning in. Take care. And next week, matter of fact, I'm going to come up with a topic for next week. So you've been watching A Man's Point in View. I've been your host, Mike, and I'll see you next week.